I know that forehead.
Hey, Hillary.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Before we get started, you've already done one of the unmanned safety classes.
Yeah.
Am I just ready to go since I've got a class number and I've got the instructions on how the kids can sign in? I just go after it?
Yeah. I had to send them my students' emails. Did you do that?
Well, I sent them a roster, but see, it's kind of weird over here because of the Kevin Stevens issue. And so he never, I mean, I've got from 3 high schools going to be inside of my class. So I'm still, but I did send him a list of students and I've got all the workbooks. Josh sent me those. So I called Anthony and said, am I ready to pull the trigger? And he said he was going to check with Josh, but it seems like I ought to be able to just go for it.
Did you get a code for your class yet that
Yeah.
the students would sign in?
Yeah, that's that like 7-digit code or something.
Yeah. Yeah, then you're good.
Well, I'm going for it.
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't coincide perfectly, so it's a nice little add-on,
Yeah.
but it's not, easily integrated, I think, into the curriculum. But
Okay. Yeah, I think it is. So it'll be fine. I'm figuring what's the worst they can do to me.
they won't do anything horrible.
They cannot send me back to Vietnam.
I saw one of the videos before and I was like, we have a world right there though. Yeah, as long as you're ready and you have the workbooks. And then what I have the students do is start watching the modules. I did it last semester where they were watching them alone. And then I ended up almost going through the entire workbook with them.
The workbook seems just easy as can be. Yeah. I think I'll take them to a computer lab and get them for the initial sign on, and then after that, I'll keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what I make sure to have them do also is I have them write down all the questions and the quizzes in their student notes, because it goes over the right and wrong quizzes, questions at the end. So in the student notes section, I have them rewrite all that they got right and wrong.
And that probably is the final certification test. Got it.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So you're coming over next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Vicki should be here by then.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I met her. So I haven't really caught up with that. Is everything?
She's supposed to start here on February 1st.
Okay.
Oh.
Good. Awesome. And then I'll be there on the 3rd.
That's Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
And then all I have in terms of announcements are registration deadlines, just to remind you guys of that. I got an email from Terry with all the fun dates, so I'll share my screen. So you can see all my fun stuff here. So if you're in zone 1, then here are your dates. So the 26th was yesterday, just FYI, if you were zone 1. So the paper applications could be either faxed or emailed. And then everyone, I think, has gone through the registration and enrollment, so hopefully it's not too crazy of a time. And so that zone 1 is, everything is due on February 11th. So you have about 2 weeks. Yeah, you have about 2 weeks to get that done. And then Zone 2 is everything is due the 17th. Does anyone have any problems or questions with those things? Cool. Okay, and then the other thing that I was going to do, I actually just did this maybe 30 minutes ago, but I was working in Canvas and I reformatted my class. So what I did, and it was actually quite easy, is I went to all of my classes, just in case you want to double up and let your students get in on Canvas, because hopefully they were there last semester, so it's not going to be that crazy of a process. I didn't do this last semester personally because it took so long for the students to enroll and everything, but I'm starting it this week. I haven't actually told my students to check Canvas yet, but if you go to your whatever class you are teaching, so mine is this one, there might be more than one. So if that's the case, then you check whatever course you think it is, and then you go to people. And that should be able to tell you what students are in your class. So I've already checked it and confirmed it, so I changed the front of it, my homepage, and then I published it. If you don't have this there yet, then you can edit, and you have your course setup checklist. So then you can import content. So that's pretty much like the first step that I did after I verified that my students were in the right classroom. So you import content, and then you get to choose which course you really want to do. So I did copy a Canvas course because Janine already put AS220 on there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do the 15 GAI AS220 Sandbox download. That one already has everything set up as to what should and shouldn't be published, at least for the first week, which is really nice. And then I put in all content and I adjusted my dates because I didn't know if there was anything already due or, you know, whatever was going on. And then I imported, and it took me about 2 minutes, not long at all. And then when I go back up here to find my AS220, it's not going to be the Sandbox one because that's the one for all of the instructors, but it's still going to be the 220 Unmanned Aircraft Systems. I click it for that little star, so now when I go up here, it should pop up. I think I just have to refresh it. And I've published it. So you can edit every single page by going up here. You look in your modules, and those are the exact same ones that you have in your GAI Sandbox for the instructors. And you know if it's published by the little cloud. So if it has an X and it is not green, then it is not published. Even though this says it is published, because the main folder is not published, it's not going to show them yet. So this like start here, that is published in the students, and then everything with the check mark is also in that folder. And then, so you verify what you want published in yours. Right now, obviously I don't need my students to see the recorded training sessions because that's for us, but that's just published in the Sandbox. And so ultimately, when we get down here, I could probably publish the administrative, and I don't need them to see my instructor's guide because they won't even know what to do with it. And then they probably won't take notes if they actually do know what to do with it. But the MCOs, they should have they should have access to that. And then the Jeopardies, they still probably don't have a clue what to do with that either. So I'll take that off. but then you just go by and then there's course readings. So if you want the students to do that, and then ultimately the PowerPoints, they go by module 1, etc. So all of my students have access to module 1 right now, but none of them currently will have module 2 until we get to it. So that's just
Lori, before you leave that, you'll notice at the bottom of module 1, you've got quiz for module 1. So I published that because I wanted my students to take the end of module quiz. They did that today. What I didn't know is it's set up like it's self-paced. So they have to keep taking it until they get a 100 on it. I didn't know it was going to do that. I thought it was set up as a quiz that they would take, and then that would be a composite roll, into their assignment grade.
right.
But it turns out when you take that, it won't let you complete it until you make 100 on it. So I don't know if anybody else has run across that issue or not. I sent an email to Janine and said, what do we do? Do we just count the first one that they did and put that down as their grade? Or do we just expect everybody to get 100, in which case I just need to remove it from the grade sheet?
I would go right here. So did you see what I did so far? I went into the quizzes, or at least the modules, and then the quizzes, and I clicked on the quiz that it was. So just give me one sec. So I clicked on the actual quiz itself, not like the publishing part, but just the quiz, and then I'm going to edit it. So maybe, if you don't like a question, or if you want to reword something or add, a picture or add something else to it, then you can go to edit and allow multiple attempts. So it's going to obviously keep your highest score, but if you only want one attempt, then, unclick that part. So you can let them see their quiz responses after each attempt, or only let them see their correct answers at a certain date. Maybe if, some students are absent, then don't let them know the right answers yet. So you can adjust this however you want, and then you can make it only, available for a certain time period, and then just make sure to save it at the bottom.
So even though you select it and you turn it green, if you select the dates that it's available, it will only be available for that time period, even though it's published and it's green. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and then when you're done, so it sounds like you're already there, Dale, but just make sure that, so you've done all this work and you verified your courses are how you want them, just make sure that it is published in the top right.
Yeah, I got them all published, and I've got the students on there, and they're, like I said, today they took their end of module 1, and then I had all the teachers writing me saying, hey, it won't let them finish. It keeps making them do it until they get 100. What's WTF? And I went, let me find out. Of course, I think Janine is out handling some issues, and so I told them just write down the first grade they got, and if you want to have them keep taking it until they get 100, that's fine. We'll figure it out. I kind of feel like I'm changing the tire on the car as I drive it. So, I don't have all the answers for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, just edit it. And I think that's just what default it has. But you can have it only record the first one and maybe not let them pass until they get the 100. Or, you can have them best 2 out of 3 or whatever you want.
Now, when you edit it like that, do you have to republish, or does the edit stick to it even though it's already published?
It should stick to it as long as you've saved it.
Okay.
So the students may have to refresh it if you're literally doing it in front of them, but it should be pretty good. Because remember, I did courses and then I wanted the AS220 unmanned, so now it's there because I saved it.
Yeah, I've got 5 sections, so I've already saved them all. They're all listed. By the way, it drives me crazy because, and I've asked, and I think Janine has put this in as a work request, but it kills me because they're all called RES 151601 Delta or whatever it is. And so you just have to know the order of what class. Like I know that Paxton's the number 2 in the hierarchy. So I said, is there some way we can actually name the class? And he said, no, not right now. You can't.
Yeah.
You can do it on the first page. You can do it on the page when you open it, but you can't do it on under the courses, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Isn't there a place when you go in and edit the quiz down at the bottom, you can set when it's available and you can do it per section, and all those sections should be listed right there when you edit the quiz.
Well, aren't you going to have to go to each individual section and make it available?
You can do it that way. So like for my classes, when I go into Canvas and I have a test for my classes, that class only has that quiz available for the hour that they're in class. So that means the class that follows can't be looking at the quiz before they get here. They have to wait till the class starts before it actually activates.
Yeah, that's a great help for me, because I was having to go in and just before the class publish it and make it available. So I'm glad to know that I can set the parameters on that.
Yeah. Professor Stevens, do you mind showing him that down at the bottom of the quiz where you edited the quiz?
Oh, sure. So let's see.
I think you did. I think you showed where there's a calendar on there. Yeah.
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 Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
No worries. So hopefully it's a tool that you can use that will help and not hinder. I think it might just take a few tries, but it's actually really intuitive. I like it. It's much better than Blackboard, which we had a few years ago. So it's due here, and then it's available from this time to this time. Yeah, and then you can add like who gets it. So if there's a student that's absent or late or something like that, you can have them send it directly to that one student versus just the entire course.
Right. And then if you go up a little bit further at the beginning of that section, which says assign to everyone, if you click on that, it should show you a list of all your different sections right there.
Yeah. I only have one, so.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. That's all I really wanted to show. I know there were a bunch of questions on Canvas, so if you have any, I can try to answer them. I'm not a pro, but that's all I really had to show. I did this really quickly, so I was lucky. I work with it a lot as a student and professor, so it's a little different from my side. But other than the dates for your registrations and that's all I have. If you guys have any questions or.
I've got questions that have nothing to do with Canvas. Are those open too?
Yeah, and then my guess is the other guys online can probably answer it just as well, if not better than I can, to be honest.
Okay. Well, the question I had dealing more in your bailiwick is this, the business model, the Hillary Stevens RFP thing. Do you have copies or examples of how you kick that off? How you, there's no PowerPoint slides for this, I guess.
Right. I start with here, I'll go back to the sharing thing.
Well, if you've got whatever you got that you can share so that I don't have to recreate the wheel and start, from scratch. It'd be much appreciated because, the drumbeat is we're trying to make this an equivalent to what they would get at Daytona. So having never seen it at Daytona, it's a little hard for me to make something equivalent that I've never seen. So if I could see an example of this so that I don't go off on a tangent and have them doing a multi-attribute analysis of something and you go, no, that was never what we wanted them to do. We just need them to do this. So.
Oh, it's never, just FYI, you will never get too much information to the students. If you feel like you're ever doing too much, then that's just not the case. So I end up going through the RFP first, and this is my, version that I took from Josh, and I just expanded it trifold. And I make them go through it, we discuss it. So this would be kind of my PowerPoint. I explain this is what I want from them. I've had students that gave me a 30+ page report, and I've had students with their team that gave me a 6-page report.
Oh, well, then you actually have brought up my second question. The APA formatted paper makes up 15% of the grade according to the syllabus. So if you, and I'm guessing we have them doing this as a group project, 3 or 4 students together in a class that are working this as a group. So how do they do an individual APA paper that's worth 15% of their grade?
I haven't personally thought about that, but just off the top of my head, what I would probably do is have them go into these a little more in depth. So this would be their 2-page APA formatted paper, and they would have their system explanation of explaining reliability, maybe explaining an accident or incident that has occurred with UAS or with manned, and then A through F, maybe divide that up within the groups, and that will be their individual cut. And
Well,
then
again,
they
you
can-
said this is the first time you didn't do it last time. So, I mean, there's no real example to this. So we just got to figure this out, I guess, as a group, so that we're all somewhat on the same page. And bear in mind, I'm not a brick and mortar classroom teacher. I see them 3 days a week talking head over the computer. So I'm not there to look over their shoulder and listen to the group dynamic as they're working in the group. And, so I'm going to be a little different. So again, whatever y'all can share so that I don't start from cold steel on this thing and I'm somewhat equivalent to what you're teaching would be much appreciated.
I agree if that helps.
With what aspects? All of them?
I've been through the, the sandbox for a while now. I've not had time to finish the instructor training, so my bad. But I'm trying to finish it as we go. And I have a regular job. I'm not a full-time school teacher. I do this as an adjunct, part-time. And any help you can give me in terms of materials is huge. I mean, everything from PowerPoints. I mean, I looked at the PowerPoint for module 1 because I'm in Duval County, number 1, and I'm just having my second class tomorrow. So we're at the beginning. But looking at the PowerPoint for module 1 and taking the training course for module 1, there's still a lot of blanks. Particularly when we start going through the slides with all the individual aircraft. Trying to explain to them what the significance is. The training gave us some examples of 6 or 7, but certainly not all of them.
Well, Guy, I don't want to interrupt you, but wait until you get to modules 5 or 6, where you start talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, and there's a picture of a wavelength. And that's it. I mean, and by the way, there's only 25 or 30 slides for that entire module. And I'm supposed to make that last for a week or a week and a half. I mean, I'm looking at that going, man, how long will it take me to explain, what I know about this sine wave, amplitude modulation or frequency modulation? There's no explanation. There's just a picture up there. So I'm scratching my head going, man, I don't know how to stretch that out. I teach 3 days a week and there's only 25 slides. I'm going to do 8 slides in an hour. I don't know.
So I'm really having a hard time figuring out what to do, to be honest with you. And I've started to pretty much abandon what's in the sandbox and the textbook, for example, connecting the textbook to the modules is difficult. There's the information is in the textbook, but the textbook's a pretty dry textbook. I can't imagine I'm going to spend much time in that. And my students, of course, don't have access to Canvas yet. Probably not going to have that for another couple of weeks.
Right.
But anything like that, if you've got a good PowerPoint slide set that's different than what's in the sandbox, that would help me. I've actually taken the quiz that we were talking about a second ago, and I actually printed off each of the pages, and I'm going to use that as I've got the clicker system, whatever that's called. I'm going to put that on just at the end of the module as a group exercise. And tomorrow I've got a list of research to let them go back into the materials they do have to answer some questions. What's the difference between a UAV and a UAS? What's the difference between what makes a UAS? What components are there that makes a UAS a UAS? And how are UASs used? So I know that's things that they need to learn, but I'm going to let them go back and look in the book. The first part of the book actually does cover all those questions, so I'm going to let them do that. But still, the PowerPoints that are in the sandbox are just not real helpful to me.
Well, I found module 1
somebody else has just been through them and modified them. Having a modified set that works, that somebody's actually used and worked, would be wonderful.
I found modules 1 and 2 pretty good in comparison to some of the later on ones. I mean, how much can you put into a ground control station? You know, I don't have any sea stories. I don't have any, you know, ground control station. There's just not that much to talk about. I mean, you can get into the environmental and the power and all that, but some of these later on modules, I'm struggling trying to figure out how to stretch the. By the way, I've got 18 weeks and there's only 9 modules. I mean, 10 if you count that last one.
So are you doing the safety course at all?
Yeah, well, what my recommendation was to do the 9 or 10 modules in the AS220 and complete that, and then spend the last 2 or 3 weeks of the term just doing the USI. Now, I'm starting to get a little pushback on that because but if they fail it, they need 30 days before they can take it.
I think that's the key. The other thing is that the safety course, I took the training a couple of weeks ago, end of December, and a lot of the safety courses, a lot of the fundamental information they're learning in AS220. So, you know, doing it in a somewhat parallel fashion, I think might be helpful. I looked at doing that, but they're not. You know, where do I interject USI in? I mean, well, what I've started to do, and I'm not completely, you know, finalized this, but our classes are an hour and a half long, and I'm splitting the class into 3 30-minute sections. You know, one is instruction, one is classwork, and 1/3 is going to be safety. And I'm in a poor school. I can't depend on my students having access to computers and internet at home. So I'm trying to let them do their safety course video reviews, the online part in class. So hopefully all these inputs, they'll tie it together. That instructor's guide is helpful. I was just looking at you thumb through it, Hillary, and it's looks good.
Yeah, so just get down through like at least 1/3 through it. The beginning won't help you as much as the 1/3 through the rest of it. So what I end up doing for all the history and all the aircraft is I have the students I assign them a person each. So I have about 15 students. So I have everyone have a person and an aircraft, sometimes 2 aircraft. And then I put the PowerPoint up there and just, you know, as the picture, but they explained to me, you know, what was important in terms of unmanned for like Pearlie's aerial bomber. And
where do they get that information?
Just online.
Wikipedia?
I give them some terms. So if I put up Pearlie's aerial bomber and they're not finding anything, then I'll like give them the year, or I'll give them a little bit more information so that they can Google the right things.
So all your students have access to computers in class?
Yeah, or they have their cell phones, to be honest.
Really? So they use their cell phones for that?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm old.
Cell phones are more powerful than computers nowadays.
But if you go to Module 2, for instance, and you'll look and it'll say for this portion, expect about an hour in class. But you look at, I mean, you can go up, hang on, just go up just a little bit from where you just were. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, see right there where it says estimated in-class time. For Module 1.4, I look at that, and there are some of these places in that I just don't see how you can get an hour's worth of class activity out of that. And it's, again, modules 1 and 2, I really haven't had that problem with so much. As I'm looking ahead into some of the follow-on, I don't see how I can stretch 2 or 3 slides into an hour, you know, talking about the stuff. So that's what I know you can't fix that today. But I mean, that's just the reality. I've got, you know, an 18-week term. This course was built for 5 contact periods at Daytona. Do you agree with that? I mean, it was originally built AS220 to teach at Daytona on a quarterly basis, and I've got more class periods than they do at Daytona. So it's, you know, I'm trying to fit a square peg into a round hole here. Anyway, not expecting you to fix it today. I'm just bringing it up where it says estimated in-class time for the module is 8 hours. Well, I got to tell you, you'd be hard pressed, I think, to make that last for 8 class periods.
I run through like 1 through 6 pretty quickly. I probably do that in the first month and a half to 2 months. And then I really harp on my project. I mean, I make them really get into it. So I don't see it being a stretch of the imagination for each of these, like A through F to be at least 2 pages and have each member take one of them. And this would be probably towards the end of the group project so that they'd already have their UAS planned out.
So that's about module 9, isn't it, when you actually have them do the presentation? I
start module 7, 8, and 9. I go through all of those, and through module 7, I have them create a research and create a company and read.
So you just do it at 7, 8, and 9. In reading through the schedule, it looked to me like they wanted us to introduce this at module 3.
I see them. Okay, thanks. Lost the door.
So if I was thinking, okay, if we give them starting at module 3, it gives them 6 weeks to do it, and then they present it at module 9. But that's still only 9 or 10 weeks into a 17 or 18 week term. So what do I do for the rest of the period? Anyway, I think I'm probably monopolizing the time here. I have a different issue maybe than some of the other people because I'm doing this hybrid model online. I teach 3 days a week. I'm trying to fit this curriculum into that, and I'm struggling at times to do it. But I don't want to continually to monopolize this discussion.
I'd see how long it takes you. I think we're all just about on the same page. We started maybe within 2 weeks of each other, all of us for AS 220, and we're all towards like the mid to end of module 1. I don't think it's that crazy of time span between everybody. Like I'll focus on this obviously personally, but I know that some people are really into the actual AR drones, and so they'll spend 1 day a week, and that will be like the simulation day. And so they'll have the simulators, and they'll have the Sumos and all the iPads, and that will be 1 day a week. I was talking to Sam Harris, so every Friday he plays with AR drones. And so if you need to space it out or keep them entertained, that's usually a good way that I find is that, okay, we're not taking notes today, we're not doing PowerPoints. Let's figure out how this AR drone works. Let's tape part of it up, or let's, not have a propeller work, or let's have someone blindfolded, or, something like that.
Now, is that request for proposal you have on the screen, is that the one you doctored, or is that the one that's in the materials?
This one's my crazy lady one. It's in modules all the way at the very bottom. It's under like Professor Stevens' Crazy Lady RFP. No,
it's under Crazy Lady section?
Yeah, pretty much. It's Professor Stevens' final project.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I saw that. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, so what I end up doing is I'm probably going to take my final project and interject the APA format paper into it and do it that way. Because table of contents are still APA format, all that fun stuff. I think talking about it, brainstorming it as I'm speaking, that's most likely what I'm going to do, because I end up grading it as, a grammatical paper anyway. So I might as well just keep doing it.
Well, again, in the syllabus, how many term papers are there? I mean, this is the only term paper, isn't it?
Right.
And it's listed as 15% of the overall grade.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if they're doing it as a group project, I'm trying to figure out how are they supposed to do a paper, their own paper. So anyway, I can ask you about this more offline as we get closer to actually, having them start on the paper.
Is it possible for each team member to have a different grade?
Of course. Yeah, I do all the time. I have 145. If you see my group presentation grade sheet, that will be out of about 145 points. Mm-hmm. So everyone gets a similar grade there. But then when I have the peer review, that's out of about 44 points. And I've had students grade anywhere from 44 because they're really softies or they grade them with like a 2. And then I end up putting that and the presentation together. So it's
Okay.
out of like 175 or so points.
So how far apart would two team members' grades get at worst case?
I've looked at that actually. My averages were about 15 point spread out of 44.
So could it actually be, is that actually a grade different? It's a grade and a half different?
Oh yeah, it's a full letter grade. It's not more than that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's
I think
about
that's
a full.
fair. I mean, you know, yeah, I think there's always going to be some slacker that needs to get whacked. So
And then if
hopefully they'll do that.
we can probably put the peer review and maybe make it like another, because the APA format paper is going to be slightly separate. So I might end up making the group presentation grade sheet and taking some parts and putting each student's APA format into that grade sheet or something like that. I'm not sure. I have to.
So they take the request for proposal and they do a separate request for proposal, or the request for proposal is then converted to an APA format paper?
Right. That's what I'm going to plan, that second part. So I have this
So
RFP.
you have both or you have one?
Just because it's requiring an APA format paper, I'm thinking in this RFP for the business proposal that the students come back with, they're going to have things like reliability, safety, regulations, like big topics like that. So I'm thinking that will be divided up per student, and that will be their APA format paper. So they're writing their own separate part about their group project.
Gonna need a little more explaining on that one as we get a little closer, I think, as you get more, get it more focused to what you want to do, because
Madison.
This is still a brainstorming process, so bear with me a sec. But I didn't have to do the APA format before, so now I'm like interjecting.
Yeah, I thought the APA paper, according to the syllabus, was like a whole different thing. It was about a company or something.
That's what it looks like. It was not as descriptive as my RFP. So what I'm thinking is that I'll just put it into what I already do, but you can totally do it however you want. So if you want to make it a separate thing, then go for it.
Okay, I do something completely different anyway. So.
Oh, tell me. Well, what did you
I
do?
told you the thing at last training with the pins where I got from AUVSI.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I make them research a company and tell how they fit into the whole UAS industry and all that. So that's really pretty good and pretty simple, and we learned a lot of new things. So.
Do you think you're going to do that this year as an APA?
If they'll let me go to AUVSI. I need to go to Louisiana anyway.
May 2nd.
Are you going?
Yeah.
So I need to talk to Terry.
Yeah. See, well, Colleen will be the approver, and then Terry and or Deb can help plan it out.
All right. Great. I'm going to try to go to that. I do have a question, and it's completely off of this. I'll let you go. But my computer for the Big Sim is kaput. It will not come on. It came on today, and after about 2 minutes, it shut down by itself. And then I turned it back on, and it would start to spin up, and then it would shut down, and then it would start to spin up, and it would shut down. And now it's like not even trying. It'll flash a blue light for half a second and then go off. So what do I do?
Is it not the power source?
It is not the power source.
Okay. Then we talk to Josh.
Okay, so I need to email Josh and let him know and see under warranty what I need to do and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the warranty is or anything, because I know that they manipulated and took some parts and pieces and kind of made their own computer. So I'm not sure how that exactly works.
Okay. All right. Well, I will email him and ask him.
Yeah. But as long as we think we're pretty good for the next like 2 weeks or so, everybody, then I'm actually feeling okay. I know that it's kind of not ideal, to plan out right before your lessons. but we're all kind of trying to work out what's best for each individual. So it's going to take a minute, but I think we all have a pretty good handle, to be honest. I'm really not that pessimistic about it.
Stuff ready to go.
Bye. Anyone else have any questions? I think module 1 through 3 is pretty stable, so that should be the next few weeks.
I have a quick question. I got an email today, I'm sure everybody did, about the new HR required online courses for all the staff and faculty. Does that apply for us high school guys too?
Can you be more specific as to this email? I'm not sure.
It's got something to do with bullying and sexual harassment and discrimination. And I guess there are 6 or 7 modules and they're an hour long a piece and they have to be done in 30 days or.
I didn't see that. I guess I need to go back and look at my email. When did it pop on your email?
I just got it today.
I mean, I looked about 30 minutes ago and I didn't have that. So
Let me take a look. I'll tell you who it came from here. It's, hang on a sec.
It's out of the HR department. I got that this afternoon as well.
Yeah. Where did mine go?
Do you know what the subject header is?
HR training, I think, annual training.
Yeah.
It's the harassment training. It's all those things that has to be part of the HR file folder on each of us.
I'm trying to find it now. I just
Yeah, I see it. I got it Tuesday at 4:56 p.m.
Yeah. Is that for us high school guys too?
I gotta check that out. Let me ask. You know what? I totally overlooked it. I'll verify that one and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
well, unless it went into my trash folder, I don't think I saw it. So maybe I'm one of the lucky people that dodged that one somehow.
It came from.
I just Googled, or I put in my search bar HR training.
It came from Andrea Hooper.
Right. Yep.
I didn't get it either.
Well, I got to be honest. Most stuff from HR, I don't spend that much time looking at. So, I mean, it may just be in my trash folder. I'll have to go look.
Okay. Well, I'll verify this one and ask.
Okay.
Hillary, any word on the T-shirts for our college kids?
No, my students keep asking and I keep ignoring them. So I'm going to do the same to you.
You can't ignore me. Okay. Also, earlier this year, we got an email said we were getting a drone construction kit.
Yeah.
Any word on those?
Did you not get yours yet?
Nope.
Okay, I'll look into that. But Terry, I got mine about 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Terry put out an email saying that the company apparently is no longer making them. And if you haven't gotten it by now, you're not going to get it. And I've got a couple schools that never got one.
Oh. Because I got 4 of them. But this was also at least 3 weeks ago.
Augie got some here too, but they were incomplete kits. They don't have a power source and they were missing something else. I forget what it was. We got 4 of them.
Awesome.
Could you check on those, please, Hillary?
Yes, sir. On it. Just for you.
Well, we kind of made a big deal out of it. We had them. We had the teachers build a kind of a safety checklist, make sure that they had, gloves or whatever if they were going to do soldering, and if they had to go buy soldering irons. And so they were all doing that, and they're foaming at the mouth, ready to start. And then they kept asking, "When's it going to show up?" And I asked Terry, and she wrote back and she said, "Oh yeah, the company's not making them anymore, and so if you haven't gotten them, you're not going to get them now." So
Josh told me just to sit on mine. I got 6 of them.
Wow.
How many students do you have?
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
21 maybe.
Yeah, they were planning about 1 kit for every 4 to 5 students. So, yeah.
But I still haven't gotten all of my quadcopters yet.
I'll ask Terry what's going on, how the supply, the disbursement looks, and see who's waiting for what. And she'll probably send you an email just confirming, the order's status.
Great.
Okay. Do you guys feel comfortable, let's say, just for like the next 2 or 3 weeks? Let's go there.
Well, these conversations help me, more than a little, but I can go as long as you all want to.
Well, I like you, sir, but I got things to do.
Oh, well, in that case.
No, I'm kidding.
I thought I was important.
I'm good for the next couple of weeks, but as we get about halfway through this, I'm going to have more questions, I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah. So what we're going to do is Josh will do probably the first Wednesday of the month, and then I'll be here the other Wednesdays just to see if you guys have any questions. So it's not mandatory or anything. It's just kind of to make sure we're on the same page and to make sure you have a support system and you feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Ooh, I'd love to feel warm and fuzzy.
I'll make it happen.
You're a good person.
Anytime. Okay.
Okay.
But if you do have any questions, just email me. I'm usually pretty good with, responding.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
We done?
We are done. We're good to go. And you can call me, text me, whatever you need.
Thanks, Hillary.
Anytime. Bye, guys.